Hey YouTube, Sack Guy here. Today I want to talk about some knives that I've picked up at Walmart over the last couple of years. None of these knives that are on the table here cost me over $4. They're inexpensive, and if you want to get started into knife collecting, it's an easy way to get some interesting knives that are fairly decent. Now, the top one was the first one that I picked up. Only reason I picked this up really was that working out as a field tech at the time, left the house with no pocket knives, believe it or not. Stopped at Walmart to grab something for lunch, walked by the sporting goods section, saw this knife, saw how cheap it was, and I'm like, hey, let me get that, throw it in the truck. That way I'll have something if I happen to do this again, because quite often you run into where you need to cut something. I figured, hey, it's good to have a beater knife. Also, when I'm out, if someone wants to borrow a knife, hey, I got something I can let them borrow, and if it doesn't come back, no big deal. The other knives I saw, and I just thought, hey, they look kind of cool, and that's pretty cheap. Impulse buys. Let me start with the first one here, the top one I should say. Closed is length is 5.5 inches. Opened length is 9.25 inches. Opens pretty smoothly. It's a liner lock. I'll show you here. And it's stainless steel construction. Has wood inlays here. They're fairly nice, held up fairly well. Don't know if you can pick it up on here, but there's a little bit of gunk on the blade. It has been used a few times. The only thing on here that I'm not a real big fan of are these teeth on the back. They're mainly for decorations. They're definitely not a saw. But it's a clip point blade. Blade is 5.5 inches long. Like I said, I have been carrying it for a while, mainly in my toolbox in the truck. Have had sharpened a couple times. Just still holds a pretty good edge. Now, the second knife here, again, pocket clip, has a nylon plastic type scales on it, metal liners, open. So, and I believe, yeah, this one's also opened. So if you get dirt or whatever in there, it cleans out fairly easy. This one does have a flipper on it, and you can see right there, but blade doesn't come out very smoothly. But again, what do you expect for $3.5, $4? Has a stonewash blade, modified drop point, or I've heard some people call that point a modified tanto. And again, fairly, handy little knife. This knife is 4 inches closed with a 2 3/4 inch blade on it. Overall, it's 7 inches long. All three of these knives have those same basic specs. The only difference comes in is the weight and handle materials. This particular one weighs in at 3 3/4 ounces. And just to show, kind of so, not too bad. and I have carried this off and on. The next knife has got a carbon fiber handles, clip point, steel liners, thumb studs on both sides. Opens up much easier. It's a modified drop point blade, all black if you're into that. Pretty good texture on the handles. What I do like about this, they are not grippy, but there's some grip to it. One of the drawbacks on this is the scallops on there. They're not, to me, they're not very comfortable to use. Feel a little bit of sharp edges, and I figure if I had to use this knife a lot, it would be uncomfortable. But again, normally what I use it mostly for, just something to pull out real quick, cut some rope, cut open a package, whatever. This one's a little bit more comfortable to use. You don't have as many sharp edges. Now for me, the pocket clip up here rubs on my hands. That could cause a problem. But again, I'm not going to be doing a lot of whittling with it. It's mainly something to use real quick. Cut open a bag or box, or cut some cordage or something, and that's about it. And this knife weighs 3.5 ounces, and again, it's got a 2 3/4 inch blade, overall length 7 inches, closed 4 inches. This last knife kind of reminds me of a small buck. Some of the smaller bucks that came out in the 80s. No pocket clip. It's a lockback, stainless steel liners and bolster. It's got a wood inlay here on the handle, and then this looks like ebony, but I wouldn't doubt that it's plastic. But it's pretty nice. It's I thought for the price, again, it was only like $3.50, $4. I thought it was a pretty knife, or a nice looking knife. It has nail nick. It's no thumb stud, so it's a two-handed opening knife. It's a nice, what you would consider a gentleman's knife, and it's a clip point blade. And this one, you know, has a pretty good edge. I have not sharpened that one. I've used it a few times, carried it and used it a few times. I've not sharpened that, so it holds an edge fairly well. And this blade, pretty much the same thing. I've used it a few times, not sharpened it yet. So they do come fairly sharp. And as I said, they're all inexpensive Walmart knives. All of them are made in China, if that happens to be a problem for you. These three knives I've recently seen in Walmart. I have not seen this one there for quite a while, but you never know, they might get it in next week. Depending on what you want a knife for, how much you're willing to spend, none of these will do you wrong. For minor stuff, if you're going to be needing them, wanting a survival knife out in the woods, these might make a good backup, but that's about it. So if you're looking for something that you're not going to sink a whole lot of money into to use, these are pretty good. Also, if you're the type that loses knives, my boys, I used to give them a pocket knife and turn around a month or so later, they're gone. I told him, hey, you guys need to go to Walmart and buy yourself a cheap knife. The cheap knives, they don't lose for some reason. But anyway, and hope you enjoyed this little review of my Walmart specials that I've gotten. Have a good day, and remember, always be prepared.